A legend in hip-hop music has his entire empire seemingly in jeopardy amid an ongoing federal investigation. Even before federal authorities raided Sean Diddy Combs' Miami and Los Angeles homes, the hip-hop mogul faced several legal issues. Since his former girlfriend Cassie Ventura filed a federal lawsuit against the rapper and producer, Diddy has faced a slew of separate civil lawsuits that include allegations ranging from sexual misconduct and battery to sexual assault and sex trafficking. Cassie settled her lawsuit with Diddy a day after it was filed in federal court. However, the other lawsuits remain active, including a $30 million lawsuit filed by Rodney Jones Jr., a former producer and videographer for Diddy. Jones's suit similarly mirrors Cassie's now settled federal lawsuit, where Jones accuses the mogul of forcing him to engage in sexual acts with sex workers, operating a racketeering enterprise, as well as groping and sexually harassing him. Since federal authorities raided Diddy's homes, several people have come forward to share their experiences with the hitmaker, but also shining a dark light on the murder, deaths, and prison time of those who were once close to him. Diddy rose to fame in the early 90s. In 1990, he began interning at Uptown Records after being tapped by CEO Andre Harrell to work with their young artists. Diddy's work at Uptown was crucial in shaping emerging artists such as Father MC, Jodeci, and Mary J. Blige. It's been reported in 1993 that Diddy and Uptown parted ways over creative and business disputes after his mentor fired him. In a 2023 interview with Variety, Diddy spoke highly of his former boss despite being fired from Uptown, saying in part, "I was just happy that he wasn't mad at me because I felt like I let him down. It wasn't hard feelings. I could tell in his eyes he knew that I wouldn't survive working under the corporate oppressive thumb. When he fired me, he didn't mean to hurt me, he just made me rich because 2 days later, I was a millionaire." Within weeks of Diddy being fired, he started his infamous Bad Boy Records. In 2020, Harrell passed away at the age of 59. According to his former partner, Harrell suffered from heart problems leading up to his death. But Harrell wasn't the only untimely passing of key figures wrapped in Diddy's inner circle. New York rap legend Heavy D was signed to Uptown Records as its first act. In December of '91, Combs was overseeing a charity basketball game with Heavy D at a City College of New York gymnasium in Harlem. The gym reportedly had a capacity of a little more than 2,700 people. However, nearly 5,000 people showed up and security couldn't control the crowd. When organizers closed the door and stopped letting attendees inside, people broke through the gym doors, rushing into the lobby, causing a stampede. 9 people were crushed to death at the bottom of the staircase, and more than 20 others were injured. Both Diddy and Heavy D, whose real name is Dwight Myers, were cited as being responsible for the tragedy. The two didn't face criminal charges following the incident. However, multiple wrongful death and personal injury lawsuits were filed. Diddy reportedly settled the final lawsuit in 2000. Heavy D passed away in 2011 from a pulmonary embolism stemmed from a blood clot in his leg. After his passing, Diddy referred to Heavy D as the person who gave him his first chance in the music industry. Another key originator from Diddy's Uptown days and what could arguably be the most personal to the mega hitmaker is the untimely passing of the mother of 3 of his children. Kim Porter was tapped by Andre Harrell to be an assistant for Uptown Records. She and Diddy would later develop a relationship and were an on and off couple from '94 to 2007. During that time, the two welcomed 3 children together, Christian Combs and twin daughters Delilah and Jessie. But the two reportedly ended their relationship after Kim suspected the Bad Boy founder was unfaithful during her pregnancy. Diddy would go on to welcome another daughter just months before the twins were born. Kim has often been referred to as the love of Diddy's life. However, according to former Bad Boy artist Mark Curry, Diddy was violent toward Kim Porter. Curry claimed previously that Diddy broke her nose and wiretapped her phone and homes. Kim Porter passed away in 2018 after suffering flu-like symptoms just days before her passing. A medical examiner later ruled she died from pneumonia. After last week's raids, Kim Porter's ex, Al B. Sure, who happens to be the biological father of Diddy's stepson, Quincy Brown, seemingly alluded to Diddy playing a role in his 2022 coma. He told audience members at the Equal Justice Now Awards last Friday that he'll be producing the Al B. Sure life story, telling the crowd, "Hold on to your britches and you'll really understand how I ended up in a coma." Then making a quip seemingly directed toward Diddy, "You're really going to need to call Homeland Security." Al B. Sure was hospitalized in July of 2022 and remained in a coma for more than 2 months. He previously told media outlets he had been intubated and on a ventilator with tracheotomy and even had to receive a new liver. A source told Page Six the insinuation that Diddy put Al in the hospital is crazy and fake news. Anyone who thinks that Al was a great dad should be asking where he's been the last 3 decades. Diddy adopted Al B. Sher's son, whom he shares with the late Kim Porter and raised as his own. In 2009, Quincy wrote an open letter to his biological father, titling it A Letter to My Father. He wrote in part, quote, I grew up without my father, an irreplaceable force and influence that was absent in my life. I watched other kids enjoy the embraces of theirs, and I searched for a way to reconcile the meaning of my circumstance. Albert Brown, known as Al B. Sher, is my biological father, but Sean Combs, known as Diddy, has been a father figure in my life for as long as I can remember. Sean Combs is the person whom I look up to and appreciate as a father. He is the person who helped mold me into the person I am today and will always try to live to his expectation. He has always been supportive of me, and I will forever love and respect him. As far as my biological father goes, the spitting image is all I have taken from him. Since that letter, the two seem to have mended their relationship. But after last week's raids, Al B. Sher shared this image to his Instagram page, seemingly referring to that 2009 letter, writing, Letter to my son. Come home. The door is wide open. You're safe here, son. I love you. So does Al B. Sher's supposed claims against the Bad Boy founder hold any weight in terms of the law? As entertainment attorney Jonathan Handel explains that this time legally, it's all speculation.
Unclear. And getting into the realm of speculation on something like that, I think is somewhere that I don't want to go. But I would simply say that, the current, raid that's the occasion for the news in recent days, does not appear to be related to that. And so whether that remains, forever a question mark, a mystery, an accusation, without a legal process, it's hard to know, but that may be where one has to leave it.
And it wasn't just Uptown Records that suffered tragic losses. The Bad Boy label would also suffer a series of deaths and criminal investigations. Most notably, the shooting death of Diddy's best friend and rapper Christopher Wallace, better known as Notorious B.I.G. Biggie was gunned down in Los Angeles following a drive-by shooting in '97. The death came during an ongoing battle of East Coast and West Coast rappers, and just months after Biggie's friend turned rival Tupac Shakur was gunned down in Las Vegas. Another Bad Boy standout rapper, Craig Mack, died in 2018 at the age of 47 from heart failure. East Harlem rapper Black Rob died in 2021 from cardiac arrest after being homeless and suffering several strokes. Then there are several other artists charged and even imprisoned on various crimes. Diddy's former protege and rapper Shine was sentenced to a decade in prison after being convicted in the infamous nightclub shooting that involved Diddy and his then-girlfriend Jennifer Lopez. Shine would only serve 8 years in prison after being convicted of firing 3 shots into a crowded nightclub following an argument with another clubgoer. It's been speculated the former protege of the Bad Boy founder took the fall for Diddy, who was ultimately acquitted for his role in the shooting. Diddy's bodyguard Anthony Wolf Jones was also charged in the incident. And while the two were acquitted, Jones was later gunned down following a confrontation outside an Atlanta nightclub in 2003. Meanwhile, former Bad Boy rapper Travell Coleman, better known as G-Dep, reportedly confessed in 2010 to a 1993 cold case murder outside a housing project. He was sentenced to life behind bars, but his sentence was later commuted by New York Governor Kathy Hochul. He'll be eligible for parole next year in 2025. So does the untimely deaths, prison sentences, and murders play into this supposed Diddy curse? Attorney Jonathan Handel says we shouldn't jump to conclusions.
Well, some of the deaths that you allude to were, apparently of natural causes, not violence. And so I think it's possible that people are making, a little more of a mountain out of that. I think it's also, it's important to recognize the, and people don't talk about this a lot, but, the racial and economic, socioeconomic aspect of this. I mean, when people come up from a background that for long historical reasons has been, for many African-American people, of course, has been surrounded by oppression, by violence, by lack of economic opportunity, it shouldn't come as a surprise that, sometimes when people then do come into money, that they're not able to, and I'm not speaking of Diddy specifically, but perhaps of some of the people around him, are not able to handle it as well as someone who comes from a more privileged background.
Diddy seems to be unfazed by the recent legal saga that could be plaguing his empire. But Handel explains we don't necessarily know what exactly is going through the producer's mind.
Well, I think he's, obviously putting on a strong face over it. It's, behind the scenes, what is going on through his mind and, the minds of his lawyers and other advisors, maybe a different question. But there's, obviously for anyone living in the public eye, the way Diddy, very much, is, there has to be some, um, control of a public persona, and so I'm not per se surprised, but again, that's without prejudging, the allegations themselves.
And while at this time Diddy has not been criminally charged on any of the claims against him, Handel says at this time we have to remember the same and let the legal process play out.
Well, simply that we remember that allegations are exactly that, allegations, and right now he has not been charged with anything criminally. He's not been convicted of anything, and that's where people should leave it. People are presumed innocent until and unless found guilty of something. He's not even been charged, so let's give ourselves space. It's hard to operate in uncertainty. People like to make a decision in their minds, but we don't have to. We're not the prosecutors. We're not the authorities. We're not somebody who's trying to decide whether to do business with Diddy or not. And so most of us don't have to make a decision on that and probably should let the process play out.
Diddy has remained relatively silent throughout the ongoing sex trafficking probe, but did break his social media silence on Sunday to wish his followers a happy Easter, but notably turned off the comments on the post. After last week's raids, Diddy's lawyer issued a statement saying, in part, there was a gross overuse of military-level force. There is no excuse for the excessive show of force and hostility exhibited by authorities or the way his children and employees were treated. Mr. Combs was never detained but spoke to and cooperated with authorities. There's no finding of criminal or civil liability with any of these allegations. Mr. Combs is innocent and will continue to fight every single day to clear his name. Reporting for Law and Crime, I'm Elizabeth Millner.